chance.
But now, these companies, they like playing games. I know what we'll do. We'll have a bookie on every street and we'll blah, blah. It's sad, isn't it?
Well, it's
I think we go back to the days where I give you an egg and you give me an orange. And
fixed odds betting terminals. That's
financial reset.
Right, let's move on. So we come back from track 6, which was Goldie Looking Chain.
Okay.
So we've got 2 tracks to go. We've got track 7, track 8. Between track 7 and track 8, or between now and track 7, what am I doing? Hang on, start that one again. Let's just spend one of these last sections before the next track just talking about the sort of the history of the Pies. Do you remember them those rock and roll trees you used to have with all the bands and all the members and things in it? What's been the sort of lineup and it sounds like it's a bit of a sort of smorgasbord. You sort of drop into it and you drop out of it.
I'm very strict.
Yeah,
I won't have anyone in the Pies who thinks they're something or wants it for their own reason. They've got to be authentic. I am dead fussy over people playing in the Pies, mate. I've had famous people in the Pies.
Who would you say is the most famous person in the Pies?
Well, the most famous would be the 2 lads out the farm, Steve Grimes and Carl Hunter.
Yeah.
Before they really learned to play again, they started jamming with me. They were. I can't knock them, mate, because but it's only the last 20 years they've learned to play. Funny enough,
yeah.
They would all like the Manchester scene on it, the farm. Look, they're lovely people. I mean, the history and the tree of the. Si and me are originals. The original drummer, the guy that he was never going to come back because one, he wasn't an original drummer, and he always stopped us from signing deals up. The latest one, I had a keyboard player, and he's sort of always his whole life. Lee, he used to do his head in that he'd done all this clever music. He was a Steely Dan fan, and he did all this clever music, and he paid pluggers, and he had all these releases. But what used to wreck his head, he was still more famous for being in the Pies than all the clever shit he'd done in his life. And that I loved that. But he has actually, I was sitting with him and his missus, and his missus has got, a big job. And she said, God, I'm paying 10 grand a month, tax. And I said, why don't you just do a project and, do something musical with Lee, and you'd probably be able to write it off. So they did. They must have spent about 50 grand and took him to Memphis, and he's had a hit now, a country hit. So the minute he put the cowboy hat on, well, he's not a pie, is he? He's gone weird. He's, but that was always him. And again, it's most people. If they got a chance, if they got a load of money, if they've got to wear a teapot on their head and whatever, they're going to do it, aren't they? But the Pies ain't never going to do it.
So if the Pies had been offered record deals,
we've cocked up. Yeah, I mean, America was the closest we've come. We've had. God, you'd have to be a certain type of person to manage the Pies. You'd have to understand what it's all about. We knocked a few back in America, which was a bad mistake, at the time. But not for my want. I wanted to go for it. We had the choice of either flying back to England and signing on, or going to the Rocky Mountains and recording an album. No brainer for me. But the lads didn't do it, and 2 of us wanted to do it, and one was very immature, and the drummer sort of talked him out of it, and Joe Flannery was involved. He wanted us back. He didn't really want to lose us to America. He wanted us back to Liverpool. There's a bit of politics going on,
Okay, what's your 7th track?
Well, it's David Bowie. Where Are We Now, mate? And it's really because I had a breakdown. I traded in Wales, and it was sort of, I was on my own. I was like a lighthouse keeper for 5 years, and one winter I just got depressed. I didn't have a lot of work to do, and you've got to stay busy if you're doing something like that. So I didn't stay busy. I started researching health and what's wrong with you, and the next thing I'm developing the symptoms that I'm researching, and like medical students can, and it's all in your head. And amongst all this, I lost a son, a grisly incident. My eldest son committed suicide, and he, you know, there was an injury, let's say, to my grandson at the same time, and we don't know, we'll never know the answer of what happened there, but it was either him or his partner, and he went and put himself on the railway line in Formby. So I mean, I was useless for a fair long time. And I remember just being back at my mum's, and Where Are We Now came out, and I just heard it, and it just seemed to, it got me straight away. Because to me, and I don't know whether I'm right in saying this, but it was, to me, he knew he could die when he wrote that song, and that's the way I felt. So I'll never been a Bowie fan, but that got me, mate. And it was, again, a part of the beginning of rebuilding me mind and everything else. So it took years to come back from that. You know, about 9 years ago now. Yeah, and that was a Pies song came out of that as well. Music definitely saved me through that. That's why I recorded the Pies album, and that's why I started working on it. I remember being on a cliff in far west Wales looking at the sea and thinking, should I just do myself in? Because I had bad tinnitus as well. I had an antidepressant called citalopram had given me horrendous tinnitus all the time. And I've got it now, but I've done groups on it now, and I know how you have to deal with it. Basically, you've got to learn to love it. That's the way you deal with it, and then your brain puts it in the background.
Yeah.
But I wrote a song called The World Needs You, which me and Si are going to redo it in the next 6 months. It's a dead good song, that, because it really was in the head of someone that was thinking about doing themselves in, and why you shouldn't. And so, you know, I could just come up with The World Needs You, is what I would say to somebody, you know.
Yeah, so what's the status of the Pies now? You know,
right now?
Right, exactly, yeah. But in February 2022.
Well, as you know, I've got those 4 songs what you played recently. So Michael, the producer, is on them. He's still tightening them up. We're still chipping away at them. So we're going to release those 4. Not released yet. The only way you can hear that is on your broadcast that we last did. We're going to play those 4, release those 4, and there's a mate of mine who always goes back a long way with me. He does drone footage now in Australia, so I want to make his 4 videos to link with the release of these 4 songs, and they're going to be punky, even more punky than what you heard on here, and just be so that me, Si, and a drummer and a bass player, Tim and Tony, we can just stand up and do it with no frills.
Yeah,
that's what I want, and I hope it. Well, you heard it; it's better, isn't it, than it used to be? It was a bit. The problem with the album was when we done it in 2016, I was so close to it, and I'm bearing in mind everything I've been through. Just getting the musicians together, and there was about 8 of them for that album, and getting the best out of them. Every single one of them wanted to punch my head off by the end.
Yeah.
I did get the best out of them, but then I'd come so far with it, and those songs, by the way, that I had to say to the producer, listen, I'm too close to even get involved in this. So I said, you do what you want to do with it. And I said, make it sound lovely on the earphones, and it does. He's compressed everything, he's took the nasty guitars out. You can hear the girls, you can hear the keyboards. It sounds great, but it's not really. It was never really the Pies.
But you want to. So this situation now, you want to do something that you can go out and perform. That's
the first thing. I mean, obviously, again, I had a relationship breakdown 18 months ago. I'm back at my Mars and me and Si. But yeah, I've took everything else down again and just put drums, bass, and guitars, and I think it's better. Yeah. And so many people have said it to me over the years. You know, the Pies sounds better with just you and the guitars because it's you. You're not the best singer in the world. You're not anything, but you're still the Pies, and that's what it should sound like. Okay,
what's your final track? Track 8.
Right, track 8 is and it literally is. It's not the whole track. It's from 225 in the Zappa song "Any Kind of Pain." And you know, Zappa is someone that, God, he's an amazing character, mate. An amazing musician. He went against the grain in everything he did. and an amazing musician, writer, conductor, guitar player. And this lead break in Any Kind of Pain, it's a 2-minute lead break. I'd love you to be able to play it in one piece if you can, because he comes through every style, every emotion is in that lead break. I don't even listen to the song. I just literally listen to his lead break. It's like, because it's going fast and it's slow and then it's lazy, then it's exciting. And
I have to cut there because we're going to have to let someone in, but we'll finish it off. We've just got to do the final bit with the luxury object. Right, so Zappa's finished.
all right,
Okay, about to cast off and leave you all alone in Kenny Island.
all right,
I've got a couple of things to do before we go.
yeah.
One is, which out of the 8 tracks would you save from destruction?
It'd still have to be that Zappa lead break. I love London Calling and it changed my life, but at the same time, there's so much emotion and skill and his whole life in that lead break that it's impossible to beat that. I don't think I could beat that. That's the one I'd want to keep.
And we're giving you the complete works of Shakespeare and the Bible, just another book to make.
Well, I have very few books I've ever written in my life, but there was a period in my life where I read Lord of the Rings, and I read it about 7 times, because at the time it was the early days of Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
and there just happened to be a game master who lived in our area, and we had some great times going round to his, and it was all come from Lord of the Rings, really, that whole thing.
And you can take one luxury object with you.
Well, I know, and you know what, mate? A giant pot plant was one thought, but it would have to be a guitar, wouldn't it? It'd have to be an acoustic guitar.
A few spare strings as well.
It would have to be. Yeah. Well, my strings are that bloody thick that you can't snap them. Genuine, you know. I mean, I remember going in a guitar shop quickly, and I went. It was in Reading, and there was 200 guitars, and one had all stickers on it from Vince Ray and the Bone Shakers. It had skeletons on it and all that. And I went, I want that one, mate. And he goes, do you know what? I thought we'd never sell it. Like that. So I went, right, it's definitely mine. And I went, can I have some 10s or 11s for it, you know? And he goes, why are you the girl? I said, what do you mean? And he goes, well, they're girl strings, aren't they? And I said, well, all right then, what's the fattest ones? And he goes, 13s. And I go, I'll have some 13. You know, but sorry, mate, I digressed a bit there, didn't I?
Okay,
so it'd be that guitar. I'd take
yeah.
that particular guitar, actually. Very hard to snap the strings.
Okay, Ashley Martin.
Oh, Steve.
King of the Pies.
Thank you, boss.
Thanks for coming on today.
Oh, you're welcome, mate. It's all been enjoyable. Thank you.